Okay. Time to continue Dragon Age.
What do you need? Ask away. Essentially, they're trained to fight. The Chantry would tell you that the Templars exist simply to defend. But don't let them fool you. They're an army. The other main purpose for a Templar is, of course, to hunt mages. To that end, we train in talents that drain mana and disrupt spells. Perhaps, but there usually isn't much of an opportunity. The Chantry keeps a close rein on its Templars. We are given lyrium to help develop our magical talents, you see. Which means we become addicted. And since the Chantry controls the lyrium trade with the dwarves, well, I'm sure you can put two and two together. You think so, huh? You don't need lyrium in order to learn the Templar talents. Lyrium just makes Templars... The Chantry usually doesn't let their Templars get away, either, so they can spread their secrets. What do you need? Ask away. Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out. You haven't forgotten already, have you? I do my best. What can I say? Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills. Well, it wasn't an easy life, you know. I don't know whether or not you've noticed, but I'm not exactly the Chantry type. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky. I wondered that myself. It's not as if she valued me highly. I think she just didn't want to give anything to the Grey Wardens, is all. The Chantry didn't lose much. And I think I can do more fighting the Blight anyhow, rather than sitting in a temple somewhere. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I wouldn't have. No, it's... I'm sorry. I shouldn't be... It's fine. He died a hero. They all did. Come on, let's go. What do you need? You don't have to do that. I know you didn't know him as long as I did. I should have handled it better. Duncan warned me right from the beginning that this could happen. Any of us could die in battle. I shouldn't have lost it, not when so much is riding on us, not with the Blight and everything. I'd like to have a proper funeral for him. Maybe once this is all done, if we're still alive. I don't think he had any family to speak of. I suppose he did. It probably sounds stupid, but part of me wishes I was with him, in the battle. I feel like I abandoned him. Yes, I know. I think he came from High Ever, or so he said. Maybe I'll go up there sometime. See about putting up something in his honor. I don't know. Have you had someone close to you die? Not that I mean to pry, I'm just... Yes, I imagine you really have, haven't you? Thank you. Really, I mean it. It was good to talk about it, at least a little. I'd like that. So would he, I think. What do you need? Ask away. Did I say that? I meant that dogs raised me. Giant slobbering dogs from the Anderfells. A whole pack of them, in fact. Well, if you're going to go and pay attention to the facts, then fine. Let's see, how do I explain this? I'm a bastard. And before you make any smart comments, I mean the fatherless kind. My mother was a serving girl in Redcliffe Castle who died when I was very young. Arleman wasn't my father, but he took me in anyhow and put a roof over my head. He was good to me, and he didn't have to be. I respect the man, and I don't blame him anymore for sending me off to the Chantry once I was old enough. Arleman eventually married a young woman from Orlais, which caused all sorts of problems between him and the king because it was so soon after the war. But he loved her. Anyhow, then you, Arlessa, resented the rumors which pegged me as his bastard. They weren't true, but of course they existed. The Isle didn't care, but she did. So off I was packed to the nearest monastery at age 10, just as well. The Arlessa made sure the castle wasn't a home to me by that point. She despised me. Maybe. She felt threatened by my presence, I can see that now. I can't say I blame her. She wondered if the rumors were true herself, I bet. I remember I had an amulet with Andraste's holy symbol on it. The only thing I had of my mother's. I was so furious at being sent away, I tore it off and threw it at the wall and it shattered. Stupid thing to do. The Isle came by the monastery a few times to see how I was, but I was stubborn. I hated it there, and blamed him for everything. And raised my dogs. Or I may as well have been, the way I acted. But maybe all young bastards act like that. I don't know. All I know is that the Arl is a good man, and well loved by the people. He also was King Caelan's uncle, so he has a personal motivation to see Loghain pay for what he did. Anyway, that's really all there is to the story.
Why are we stopping? There are darkspawn to be fought. Is this delay needful? I am. I have always fought in war, Elf. My people have been at war since the moment we set foot in the Northern Islands. We do now. Somewhere else. No. I was born in Seheron. Of the land we came from, I know nothing, not even its name. I do not see how this matters. Seheron and Parvolan are distant. Ferelden and the Darkspawn are immediate. Decide. I am a Sten of the Beresad. I did not choose to be who I am any more than you did. The Antam are the eyes, hands, and mouth of the Kunari. We are how my people know the world. Compared to what? What does anyone truly know of the world? The world changes. We change. The Antam observe what we can, just as you do. There is no point to this. We are keeping the Darkspawn waiting. You are concerned. No need. I am fit enough to fight. No. People are not simple. They cannot be summarized for easy reference in the manner of, the elves are a lithe, pointy-eared people who excel at poverty. Many humans have said that to me. I do not understand it. If I were indeed hostile, you would be bleeding.
He's one of these people.
Couldn't you tell? As you wish. Yes. Sitting, as you observed. It's what you asked. I did. Parshera. Was there anything else? I am hardly surprised. To answer a question. The Arishok asked what is the Blight. By his curiosity, I am now here. The one who commands the Antam, the body of the Kunari. Kunari have no kings. Little patience for endless questions. A portion of it. Were you not at Ostagar when the army was overwhelmed? That is your answer. Yes. Never. I cannot go home. It doesn't matter now. Can we move on? We keep the Darkspawn waiting. I am hardly surprised.
We're just gonna keep playing 50 questions with Sten.
Very well. Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on. As you wish.
Oh.
Yes. I am hardly surprised. Very
Oh,
well.
he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Whatever. I didn't want to talk to him anyways.
What do you wish of me? If you must. Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I? Beg pardon then while I jump for joy. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness. Would you not do the same? Your world is an unforgiving and cold place. The wilds I hail from is home to me, and I a natural denizen. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for. Equal parts daring and foolhardy, perhaps. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be traveling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped, and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested. Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting? Do not speak to me of trivialities. Your culture is not so entirely different. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes. How to eat at a table. How to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again. Yes? Let's ignore the entire Darkspawn threat and the presence of a simpleton as your only other Grey Warden ally, then. Not that I lack appreciation for the intent of your comment. Thank you. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes? Yes? At times, perhaps. A world full of people and buildings and things was all very foreign to me. If I wished companionship, I ran with the wolves and flew with the birds. If I spoke, 'twas to the trees. For a time, but one can only remain a child for so long. I recall the first time I crept beyond the edge of the wilds. I did so in animal form, remaining in the shadows and watching these strange townsfolk from afar. I happened upon a noblewoman by her carriage, adorned in sparkling garments the likes of which I had never before seen. I was dazzled. This, to me, seemed what true wealth and beauty must be. I snuck up behind her and stole a hand mirror from the carriage. 'Twas encrusted in gold and crystalline gemstones, and I hugged it to my chest with delight as I sped back to the wilds. Flemeth was furious with me. I was a child and had not yet come into my full power, and I had risked discovery for the sake of a pretty bauble. To teach me a lesson, Flemeth took the mirror and smashed it upon the ground. I was heartbroken. And a foolish one. Flemeth was right to break me of my fascination. Beauty and love are fleeting and have no meaning. Survival has meaning. Power has meaning. Without those lessons, I would not be here today, as difficult as they might have been. Do I not? I am still an apostate mage, even if I have left the wilds. The Darkspawn are yet undefeated. No, there is much that remains. To return to your original question, perhaps my time in the wilds was indeed lonely, but such was how it had to be. I find myself at times wondering what might have become of the girl with the beautiful golden mirror, but such fantasies have no place amidst reality. Yes? If you must. You are very cute to ask so many questions. Really? Perhaps we should be wrapped in ribbons and adorned with flowers. So cute are we, too. My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were. Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more. They came with as much swagger and arrogance as they did self-righteousness. Pity them if you wish, for they held none for us. Flemeth would warn them once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait. A little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom. Me? No, I never did any of the killing, until later. And even then, Flemeth was a glutton for that sort of thing. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere, and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum. Perhaps they did. Still, I do not begrudge them doing what they believe is necessary. The Chantry sees any mages not leashed to the Circle of Magi as apostates, and apostates could become maleficarum, evil mages that resort to blood magic and become demon-enslaved abominations. It may even be true. Still, those of us who prefer freedom see no reason to submit. An interesting answer for a mage. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand. Yes? If you must. Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be? You mean, is she truly the Flemeth of legend and story? Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience. I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire. As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her. Many centuries before this land was even named Ferelden. The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the Bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the Dreadlord Conabar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conabar the jealous lord who looked on from afar. Lord Conabar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife. and Osen agreed. The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conobar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge. That was not the point. Conobar had no honor, so she would not have him. Flemeth begged the spirits to aid her, and 'twas they who slew Conobar. The demon the legend tells of came later. Lord Conobar's allies chased Flemeth, you see. Chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies. The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began. You ask if I have sisters. I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one, and these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed, so should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too. The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well. I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has colored her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all. The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her. How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand. What Flemeth became is a mystery. Flemeth tells it with far more embellish. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious nevertheless. Nothing. I wish to know nothing more. I find myself a little envious, to tell the truth. But it matters not. Let us move on. Yes? If you must. By others, do you mean yourself? Then I shall teach you what I can whenever we are in camp. Yes? If you must. By others, do you mean your... Then I shall teach...
That's good. Now I have that unlocked. How I access it, I don't know.
Yes? We are in camp, so 'tis as good a time as any. Discuss away. Yes? We are in camp, so 'tis as good a time as any. What's this? 'Tis a rather odd discussion you seem to desire, leaning in so closely. Oh, it's humor you desire. I didn't realize comedy had anything to do with this. How true. Let us do it right, then.
Yeah! That's the good stuff right there.
Yes? So, full of questions, are you? I assume you were actually asking whether Flemeth herself gave birth to me. Truly, I do not know. I once asked Flemeth that very question, and she merely laughed at me. 'Tis not inconceivable that she could capture a chastened man, or perhaps change to a more attractive form to attract him willingly. I find it more difficult to imagine her with child. It seems likely, does it not? In an animal form, a babe could easily be spirited away and raised as Flemeth's own. I do know the tales of Flemeth having many daughters, even though I have never met another. And Flemeth has always treated me as... What an odd thing to say! Why must love enter into the equation? Flemeth taught me everything I needed to learn. How to survive, the meaning of power, the truth of men. If other mothers do not teach these things, then I believe them the lesser. Room for coddling and weakness? Why should such things be desirable? Take yourself. You do not honestly desire such things from me, do you? 'Tis better to be free of such cloying and cluttering delusions as love. Then more the fool you, I think. I tire of this discussion. Yes? If you must. Yes? We are in camp, so 'tis as good a time. Yes? We are in camp, so discuss away.
Okay.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Yes? Well, here I am. I knew this would come up sooner or later. In it, there was an impenetrable darkness. I stood on a peak and watched as the darkness consumed. I fell, and the darkness drew me in. I suppose I did. That was what the darkness was, no? When I woke, I went to the Chantry's gardens, as I always do. But that day, everyone knew that bush was dead. It was grey and twisted and gnarled, the ugliest thing you ever saw. It was as though the Maker stretched out his hand to say, even in the midst of this darkness, there is hope and beauty. Have faith. In my dream, I fell. There are so many good things in the Maker's world. How can I sit by while the Black devours everything? I don't know. He made this world. He could destroy it. But there is so much worth saving. You're such a pessimist. Yes? Well, here I am. Quiet. In the cloister, away from the fuss and the flurry of the cities. But it was not perfect. Some of my Chantry fellows were condescending. That is the nature of religious folk, I suppose. When I talked about my beliefs, that the Maker reveals himself in the beauty of... They want to believe that he's gone, so that when he turns his gaze on them, it means he cannot possibly have love for all, the sick and the weary, the beggars and the fools. Thank you. Maybe I am wrong. But it is the Maker's place to decide if I am worthy, not me. But there is work to be done. And... Yes? Well, here I am. What is meant by someone like me? And there were no beautiful, charming women in the cloister. There were many lovely young initiates in the Lothering cloister. Because then, they were forbidden. And forbidden fruit is the sweeter, no? Flatterer. I, however, did not take vows, and so perhaps I am not as enigmatic. The Chantry provides succor and safe harbor to all who seek it. I chose to stay, and we affirm our belief in the Maker, in Andraste and the Chant, but other than that, I was a traveling minstrel in Orlais. Tales and songs were my life. I performed, and they rewarded me with applause and coin. And my skill in battle? Well, you Yes? Something you... Yes? What's on... My mother was from Denerim, and I consider myself a Ferelden. Mother served an Orlesian noblewoman who lived here when Orlais ruled. When Orlais was defeated, and the common folk began to resent the presence of any Orlesian, the lady returned to Orlais. She took my... I was born in Orlais, and did not set foot in Ferelden till much later. Mother was always telling me stories of her homeland. I think she missed it. Mother died when I was very young. Lady Cecily let me stay with her. She was quite old then, and she had me study music and dance to entertain her. It is unfair that I... Strangely, the only thing I really remember of Mother was her scent. She kept dried flowers in her closet amongst her clothes. Small white Ferelden wildflowers with a sweet fragrance. But enough about... Yes? Yes? What? I miss Valroyaux. Unlike other cities where the people are the lifeblood and the character, Valroyaux was her own person, and her people little... There was always music in Valroyaux, and always, floating above that all, the chant. Oh, it would take me a day or two to talk about the many splendors of Orlais. Of course there are good things and bad things about Orlais, like anywhere else. And you will laugh at this, but I miss the fine things I had in Orlais. I left behind much, leaving Orlais. Orlais is very fashionable, almost ridiculous. When I left Orlais, the fashion was shoes with delicate tapered heels and
I'm just trying to
embellishments
rush
in
through
the
this
front.
because I'm just doing
A
it for the
ribbon,
story.
perhaps, or embroidery. In soft colors, of course. It was... I had my eye on a pair my shoemaker was working on. It was covered in pale blue silk, with amber beads on the toe. The shoes made in Orlais were exquisite. Not at all like these clunky, fur-lined leather boots you have in Ferelden. Ugh, just look at them. They're sturdy shoes, but so... Oh, I could talk about shoes all day. Yes? Yes? What? Of course I do. I love stories far too much to keep them to myself. Chantry law says it is man's pride that created the Darkspawn. In ages past, the mages, in their pride, they thought their magics invincible and imagined that they were greater than the Maker himself. So thinking, they invaded his golden city, but they were impure and full of sin. The Maker cursed them and cast them from his sight. Wherever they went, they spread the taint of their sin. Any land that was touched by the taint became blighted and would suffer no life. Instead, the Darkspawn arose to torment us and remind us of our hubris. Of course, Orlesians enjoy telling stories. I shall tell you my favorite tale of Aveline. A long time ago, a girl child was born to a farmer. He had hoped for a son, not a daughter, and so he told his wife to abandon the child in the woods. Before the cold could claim her, the baby was found by a tribe of Dalish elves who... Aveline, for that is what they called her, grew strong and quick and clever under the guidance of the elves. She learned to wield a sword as well as any man, could kill a deer with an arrow at 100 paces, and was as graceful on the back of a horse as she was on foot. Aveline's Dalish guardians saw that she could easily best any Orlesian chevalier in battle, and wanted to show the cruel humans the child they had left to die. They bestowed upon her a fine horse and armor, and sent her to prove herself to her people in the grand tourney. Now in those days, no woman was allowed to take up arms, let alone compete in the grand tourney, but Aveline kept her helmet on, and was not discovered. Aveline won many events and gained the approval of the adoring crowd. Eventually, she came face to face with the knight Kaleva in the grand melee. Aveline had already bested him in the joust, and Kaleva was determined not to lose a second time. Out of desperation to regain his honor, Kaleva tripped Aveline and tossed her to the ground, ripping off her helmet as he did so. Silence fell upon the arena as Aveline was revealed. Kaleva declared the previous competitions invalid. A woman had taken part, and this was not allowed. But the crowd cheered for Aveline. Kaleva was furious, for he had lost to a woman and was now being shamed. Blinded by his rage, he forced Aveline to her knees. "Know your place, woman," cried he, and slit her throat. The son of the king, Prince Freyan, was present. He recognized Aveline's skill and bravery and began to see the injustice done to the women in his land. When he was made king, he rewrote the laws of Olay so that women could also become chevalier. He honored Aveline and knighted her after her death. And to this day, any female who is knighted reveres Aveline the Brave, for she is the patron of all women chevalier. I know one, told to me by my mother a long time ago. It always chilled me to the bone. Maybe you have heard... Are you sure? Was she the Flemeth of legend? Flemeth, the devourer of men? Flemeth, mother of witches? Flemeth, demon-touched, who dwells in the mists? Ferelden mothers scare their daughters with talk of Flemeth. They say that if you're bad, Flemeth will spirit you away and bind you to her forever. They also say that Flemeth mourns her lost beauty and will steal yours through your looking glass if she catches you. Flemeth's beauty was known throughout the land. She had hair like unto a moonless night, skin as pale as winter's first snow, and eyes as beautiful and perilous as the sea. When she came of age, she came to the attention of the Lord of Highever, Conobar, and he took her for his wife. Conobar soon learned that his young bride had the gift of magic. He kept this a secret, for he feared that she would be taken from him. Flemeth stayed with Conobar for some years, and with his blessing, she practiced her art. And then one day, a young poet named Osen came to the castle. Flemeth was captivated by Osen's voice, and he by her beauty, and they fell in love. Flemeth longed to be with her true love, and she and Osen fled from Conobar's lands, seeking refuge in the Kokari wilds with the Chasing tribes. They lived there happily for many a year, till the day Flemeth received news that Conobar was dying and longed to see her face one last time. Flemeth's heart swelled with pity for the man who once was her husband, and begged Osen to return to Conobar's side with her. But when Flemeth and Osen entered Highever, they were captured by Conobar's men, and Osen was slain in front of Flemeth's eyes. Flemeth was imprisoned in the highest tower of the castle, there to await Conobar's judgment on her. Distraught at the loss of her love, Flemeth plotted revenge against her husband. She summoned a fey demon, intending for it to wreak vengeance on Conobar. But a spell went awry. The demon possessed Flemeth. Turning her into an abomination, the halls of the castle ran red with blood as Flemeth slaughtered Conobar and all his men. The last of Flemeth's humanity melted away, and at dawn, she stole back to the wilds to plot and scheme for 100 years. They say she took to her side many Chasing men, and with their help, begat her daughter witches, who even now prowl the dark places of the Kokari wilds. Which one? I have heard a little about how the elves gained their freedom from the Tevinter Imperium. When Andraste began her exalted march against the Imperium, the elves joined her cause to fight their masters. The great elven leader, Shatan, born in captivity, rose up to lead his people, he foresaw a future where the elves were free. Shartan was killed when Andraste was betrayed, but the elves continued to fight, eventually breaking free of the Imperium. The elves claimed the Dales in the south and settled there in a land of their own. The elves lived in the Dales for centuries. They resurrected the worship of This angered the Chantry, and the hostility between the two factions finally broke out. The Chantry declared a holy exalted march against the... During the exalted march of the Dales, some of the elves bitterly, but others, still fiercely proud of Andraste, Andraste brought the Imperium to it. Andraste was burnt at the stake. The Tevinter... We will never know for sure. Yes? Something you need?
Skip through all that, because at this point I'm literally just doing this just for the story, just so we can get everything we need.
Yes? If you must.
I think we got everything. Don't I have a chest somewhere? Aren't I supposed to have like a special chest I could put gear and stuff into? I got so much stuff, but it's like I don't know what to do with it. How do I give somebody something? Do they have to be in my party? Is that it? Oh, what the fuck? That scared the crap out of me. I don't even know what happened there. I'm gonna save here because I don't know.
Great. Super. Thanks. I could get used to this, you know?
I am grateful. 'Tis thoughtful in...
That's a wonderful thought.
I am impressed. My thanks.
That helped quite a bit.
A fine gift. You have my thanks. Interesting. Interesting. Interesting.
I know this is not actually the most entertaining, but
'Tis cold in my tent, all alone. So you shall come to my tent? But whatever shall we do in that tiny little space together while we wait for it to warm? Good. Then let us waste no more time with foolish talk.
oh god. Well,
I see the stories they tell of Grey Warden endurance are not exaggerated. Not at all. Legends abound regarding such figures as Garahel, sordid though they may be. The unanswered question, of course, is whether the endurance exists because of the taint within you, or because the Grey Wardens are by nature so very healthy. I enjoy the thought that 'tis a little of both. Natural prowess, driven by a darker side. That is entirely up to you. Simply know that I have no designs on your independence. I wish only to do what I desire, and should you decide not to continue our misadventure, then so be it. Very simple, is it not? Oh, now you ruin the mood by speaking profanities. Come then, let us be off before... I have something for you. I mean that I have a gift for you. 'Tis a ring. Now, before you get any foolish notions, let me explain. Flemeth once gave me the ring because it allowed her to find me no matter where I went, in case I was ever captured by hunters. I disabled its power as soon as we left the wilds. Recently, however, I thought to change it. Now, I will be able to find whoever wears it instead. It is not given out of sentimentality. I believe you were too important to risk. If you were captured, this ring would allow the rest of us to find you quickly. Now you are mocking me. Do you wish the ring or not? I am tempted to simply keep... You are welcome. So, full of questions. We are in camp, so 'tis as good a time as any.
You are not quite as callow as I thought. That is unexpected. You sound surprised. You must have heard this before. You'll get over it, eventually. I caged myself. A weak mind is a deadly foe, as you are no doubt aware. I did. Is it a human saying, no good deed goes unpunished? They saved my life. You could say that. Had they not shown me compassion, they would still live. I came to your lands with 7 of the Beresad, my brothers, to seek answers about the Blight. We made our way across the Ferelden countryside without incident, seeing nothing of the threat we were sent to observe. Until the night we camped by Lake Calenhad. They came from everywhere. The earth beneath our feet, the air above us. Our own shadows harbored the Darkspawn. I saw the last of the creatures cut down, too late. I fell. I am told no others survived. I don't know how long I lay on the battlefield among the dead, nor do I know how the farmers found me. I only know that when I woke, I was no longer among my brothers, and my sword was gone from my hand. No, I saw my brother's fall. I knew. It was the sword that concerned me. I searched for it, and when that failed, I asked my rescuers what had become of it. They said they found me with nothing. I did. I knew they didn't have the blade. They had no reason to lie to me. I panicked. Unthinking, I struck them down. I know I cannot justify what I have done. My honor is forfeit. That sword was made for my hand alone. I have carried it from the day I was set into the Beresad. I was to die wielding it for my people. Even if I could cross Ferelden and Tevinter unarmed and alone to bring my report to the Arishok, I would be slain on sight by the Antam. They would know me as soulless, a deserter. No soldier would cast aside his blade while he drew breath. If I knew where to look, it would be in my hand now. Near Lake Calenhad. Perhaps those words are empty, but thank you all the same. You called. I am hardly surprised. To put it lightly, no one has a place here. Your farmers wish to be merchants. The merchants dream of being nobles, and the nobles become warriors. No one is content to be who they are. What does that accomplish? The farmer who buys a shop is never a merchant. He is always a farmer turned merchant. He carries his old life with him as a turtle carries its shell. Does it? It's also his weakness. If he stumbles and falls over, it pins him on his back. It is better to armor yourself with no more than what you need. One life, one duty. You can learn to find it in doing your duty, in serving your people. There is no need to search for it. Shall we move on? There is interesting food here. You have a thing. It doesn't have a word in the Kunari tongue. Little baked things like bread, but sweet and crumbly. Yes, we have no such things in our lands. This should be remedied. Shall we move on? Perhaps. It's strange to be in a crowd and hear a language that is not your own. To see faces that are and aren't like yours. I miss the smells of Saharon. Tea and incense and the sea. Ferelden smells of wet dogs. True. I was trying to forget that part. Shall we move on? Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on. As you wish.
Did you always live in an alienage? Was it very terrible? That is good to hear. I have never been to the Denerim alienage, but I hear that life is hard and there is so much squalor. In Orlais, most elven servants live in the homes of their masters, often in great wealth and luxury. Yes, but some humans are treated cruelly too. It is not just elves. A well-trained elven servant is highly valued in Orlais. They are nimble and dexterous, and many people find them pleasing to look at. No, I did not mean it that way. Oh, my words were clumsily chosen. I did not mean to offend. I am sorry. Thank you. You have given me a lot to think about. The stars are out. It comforts me to know that the stars will remain untouched by the blight. That whatever happens down here, they will shine eternally. Their light undimmed. There is a story about that cluster of stars over there. Do you know it? Elindra and her soldier? A long time ago, there lived a fair maiden called Elindra. She had many suitors, but spurned them all for she did not love them. One day, Elindra was sitting by her window in her father's castle, singing and dreaming, when her lovely voice caught the attention of a young soldier. Entranced by her song, The soldier drew near to Elindra's window. As their eyes met, he fell in love with her, and she with him. When Elindra told her father about the man she had chosen, he was furious, for Elindra was high-born, but her love nothing more than a common soldier. To keep them apart, he had Elindra imprisoned in the highest tower of his castle, and sent her soldier to the wars. Alas, not a month had passed before news of the soldier's death reached Elindra. Alone in her tower, Elindra wept for her love, and beseeched the gods to deliver her from this cruel world. So earnest was her plea that the gods themselves were moved. They gathered Elindra into their arms and lifted her high into the heavens, where she became a star. The gods also raised up the soul of Elindra's soldier love, and there he dwells, across the horizon from her. The band of stars between them is a river of Elindra's tears, cried for her lost love. They say that when Elindra has cried enough, she will be able to cross the river to be reunited with her soldier. This story is one of my favorites. A tale of a love so great and so enduring that it defies death and moves the gods to action. Sometimes I ask myself, does such a love exist? Can it exist? I never expected you to say that. It is a pleasant surprise. I have to say there is a certain severity to you. Finding a person behind that all is nice. Maybe you should let your softer side show more often. Sometimes following your heart, not your... So, you found something other than Darkspawn to occupy your time, haven't you? You and Morrigan are... I saw her going into your tent last night. I didn't think she was there to tell you a bedtime story. You are so brazen, both of you. Your relationship might affect our entire group, don't you think? If suddenly she is more important to you, then you could take unnecessary risks for her, putting us all in danger. We'll see how much your word counts for them. Looking for little old me? Yes? What's on your mind? Where did you hear this? And did you not think that this could be... Not all minstrels are spies. Most are just singers and storytellers. Bards are minstrels and more. Spies, as you say. Many bards work alone or in small groups, doing the bidding of a patron who pays for their services. If there is an organization behind it, some do. Mostly, it is nobles, spies. In Orlais, there is much rivalry amongst the high, but they cannot do this openly because, in secret, they plot and scheme. I have revealed too much, it seems, but it doesn't matter what I used to be. It is the past. The excitement of the life where I found myself in Ferelden. I like to say the Maker brought me here. Looking for little old me? I don't think you have the correct aptitude. Let's just go over there, away from the others. Looking for little old me? Yes? What's on your mind? Looking for little old me? Yes?
Well, at least I got the specialization.
Something on your mind? Of course. Others, yes. But not yourself. I guess if I'm going to give up Chantry secrets, I may as well go all the way. Something on your mind? Of course. Have you seen the uniform? It's not only stylish, but well made. I'm a sucker for good tailoring. Oh, you aren't kidding. I think the Templar uniforms are as colorful as they are just so the Templars didn't feel dull in comparison. Last thing you want when you're about to take down some Maleficar out in the woods is to have him point and laugh at your taste in clothing, am I right? You don't really want to know about my being a Templar, do you? It's really quite boring. Poke, poke, poke. Tell me everything about your life, Alistair. The truth of the matter is that I did hate going to the monastery. The initiates from poor families thought I put on airs, while the noble ones called me a bastard and ignored me. I felt like Al Eamon had cast me off, unwanted, and I was determined to be bitter. But I took the education mostly, but also the discipline. You need to have a until I... And Duncan felt my Templar abilities might be useful for when we encountered... What about you? Do you have anywhere you consider home? But it's not your home anymore, right? We won't always be traveling like this, you know. Once the war is over, though that seems like a far ways off. And I suppose you're right. We can create new Grey Wardens, but we'll never get back those we lost. Anyhow, something on your mind? Of course. Never what? Had a good pair of shoes? Oh, so that's what we're talking about. Well, if you really want to know, you tell me first. And apparently you have no shame, as I myself never had the pleasure. Not that I haven't thought about it, of course. But, you know. Well, living in the Chantry is not exactly a life for rambunctious boys. They raised me to be a gentleman. That's not so bad, is it? I've no urge to rush into anything. Enough. Something on your mind? Of course. You mean other than becoming a Grey Warden? You know, I asked Duncan this too, and all I got was, "You'll see." Oh, it's not that Duncan wants to keep it a secret, it's just that the first change I noticed was an increase in appetite. I'd slurp down every dinner like it was my last, my face all covered in gravy. When I'd look up, the other... Really? I saw you eating dinner the other day. Savage. Ah yes, the classy camaraderie of two men traveling out in the open. Oh, and then there were the nightmares. And when we sleep, it's even worse. You learn to block it out after a while, but at first it's hard. Some people never have much trouble, but that's rare. Others have trouble sleeping their entire... Everyone ends up the same, though. Once you reach a certain age, the real nightmares come. Oh, that's right. Well, in addition to all the other wonderful things about being a Grey Warden, you don't need to worry about dying from old age. You've got 30 years to live, give or take. The taint, it's a death sentence. Ultimately, your body won't be able to take it. When the time comes, most Grey Wardens go to Orzammar and die in battle rather than waiting. It's tradition. You'll always find Darkspawn down where the dwarves are. The oldest Grey Wardens head to the deep roads for one last glorious battle. Not that there's a shortage of Darkspawn during a blight, but... And you wondered why we kept the joining a secret from the new recruits. There you have it. You know, Duncan... He started having the nightmares again. He told me that in private. He said it wouldn't be long before he'd go to Orzammar himself. I guess he got what he wanted. I just wish it had been something worthy of him. I know. Something on your mind? Of course. I didn't know them for very long, but I guess it was longer than you. They were quite a group. We also laughed more than you'd think. There was this one time... Well, there was one Grey Warden who came all the way from the Anderfells. What was his name? Gregor... And the man could drink. He drank all the time, but he never got drunk. Finally, we all made a pool to see just how many pints it would take to put him... Oh, I honestly doubt it. You might have tried, but this fella had a supernatural constitution, I swear. Anyhow, we never did find out. He said he'd drink a pint for every half pint that the rest of us drank. He was... I'm told that Duncan walked in later on and saw us all passed out from one end of the hall to the other, and Gregor still drinking. Duncan laughed until he nearly... Yes, I suppose so. It just struck me that I have nothing to remember Duncan by. Nothing at all. There's no body, not even a token of his that I could take with me. I just would have liked something of his to take with me. Well, I'm wondering something. I'd like to know your thoughts about some of our traveling companions. Do you mind if I ask? What about Sten? The way he looks at me with those eyes. Creepy. And he's so quiet for someone so... Yet he doesn't seem quite so bad as the Chantry tells us. And yet, he killed all those people. He doesn't even deny it. Doesn't that bother you? I'm not so sure that his regret means the same as... What about Liliana? Is she crazy? Or do you really believe in her vision? That's one way to put it. I noticed that you and her have become... close. Am I right? Oh? I don't know what to make of her. If you look at her when she doesn't see you, she just looks so sad. I almost feel guilty taking her away from her life. Yes, I know. Morrigan. Do you trust her? Think about it. Maybe Flemeth sent her with that. Hello? Have you met her? I think she'd need a reason not to betray us. Just tell me one thing. Is it true what the others say? Great. So, enough. Something on your mind? Of course. Something on your mind? Something on your mind? Of course. Such as they are. Here in Ferelden, so unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we... Something on your mind?
I think that's everything now, finally. I know we kind of wasted a lot of time talking to 50 people, but kind of necessary. Guess we can leave. Morgan, Alistair, and
Indeed.
Liana.
Something on your mind?
As you say.
We are hardly alone, so privacy is not an option. It is... You are already on my good side, such as it is. Or do you... Oh, let me see. I would expect favor to come with a price. Perhaps you would be willing to pay a compliment. I suppose stating the obvious will have to do. Very well, then. You... We are hardly alone, so privacy... We are hardly alone. And you wish to...
How?
And suddenly I want... So...
Looking for little old me? Next to nothing, I'm afraid. Perhaps looking for little old me? Yes? What's...
For some reason I thought Plymouth would be here.
Another corpse for the pile.
Right away. Trap right ahead. Trap right ahead.
You'll have to forgive me if I seem a bit nervous. Not many people travelling in this part of Ferelden. Of course, that's part of my problem, isn't it? Mule got spooked by a wisp and ran off into the woods. Now what do I do? Oh, no. I sent my elf to do that. I mean, I sent my helper, Taran. Nice fellow, that, Taran. Allow me to introduce myself. Felix de Grosbois, merchant and entrepreneur at your service. A Grey Warden? That's quite impressive, isn't it? My word. I don't normally take this route, but with the war, I was hoping for a bit of luck and good weather in the mountains. Sadly, I've had neither. Ugh, this trip has been one miserable disaster after another. I don't suppose you... Of all the other things that went wrong, the worst is this artifact I brought in Jada. It's a control rod, I'm told, for a golem. No point in me keeping it, however, as I'll never get to use it. But, maybe you could? Nothing. I just don't want to have to lug around something that might be taken for a gemstone by some bandit. To be honest, I don't even know if it'll be useful to you. I paid too much to simply throw it away. Just as well. You'll find the golem in a village named Honleith, in the hinterlands. Here, I'll mark it on your map. I've heard it might be dangerous there with all the darkspawn about, but I'll wager that's not an issue for someone like you. Just hold up the rod and say Dulaf Gar. That will wake the golem up, so I'm told. I hope it works. Maybe you could look up the fellow who owned the golem before. Best of luck to you then.
I guess we traveled to pick up a golem. Or not.
Looking for little old me?
have the advantage. As you say. It is begun. As you say.
Allow me. I could do that for you. It looks like a golem, doesn't it? Allow me. I could do that for you.
It is begun. I shall do it.
Allow me. I could do that for you.
Very well. It is begun. Very well.
By the Maker, we're saved!
You weren't sent by the ban, were you? To save us? A Grey Warden? Here! Thank the Maker for our luck! But if you weren't sent by someone, why are you here? If you don't mind me asking. The statue outside? Why would... Oh, I think I see. You bought the control rod, didn't you? You came here looking for Shale. That damnable Golem brought us nothing but trouble. My mother sold the rod years ago after it killed my father, and good riddance! My father's name was Wilhelm, mage to the Isles of Redcliffe and a hero in the war against Orlais, and what did he get? One day, my mother found him outside the tower, with so many broken bones she could barely recognize him, and Shale standing over him just like it is now. My father deserved better than that. But if you really want to wake Shale up, well, it's yours now. This was my father's laboratory, beneath his tower. Or it was, anyhow. Look, I know you probably have more important things on your mind, but I really need your help. I know you already saved my life, and I'm grateful, but my daughter is inside the laboratory. She was afraid and ran too far in before I could stop her. I don't know how she made it past my father's defenses. One of the men tried to go after her. He was killed, but you could find her, couldn't you? You will? Thank the Maker! My father's laboratory is just past the next area, I think. She has to be there.
It shall be done.
Allow me. I could do that for you.
never climbed a tree. Don't cats like to... Oh, look! Someone's come to play. You have come to play, haven't you? We're playing a guessing game. It's better with more people. Kitty and me, of course. You don't see anyone else here, do you? Anyway, you should go if you're not going to play. Kitty finds you distracting. I can't go. Kitty says she can't come, and I'm...
You are so kind, Amalia. I would miss you dearly if you left.
Of course she's a cat.
Talking is simple enough, once you know how.
Oh, bug whistles. You're just no fun.
Nothing you say will convince Amalia to go with you. She loves only me now. I am her friend. It seems we are at an impasse. Release me, mortal, and let me have the girl. Let us return to her father and leave this place. That's such a crude way of putting. I do not wish to harm Amalia. I merely want to see your world through her eyes. Is that so wrong? Thank you. The mage's wards hold me within this chamber, and only a mortal may approach them. There is a trick to disarming the wards.
Oh, this is... I've always wanted a cat, and Kitty is so perfect and pretty.
I shall do it. It shall be done.
I like it when Kitty sings to me.
As you say.
Looking for little old me?
Father doesn't like cats, but he never met Kitty.
Very well. I shall do it.
Kitty says Grandpa Wilhelm locked her up in his
I shall
room.
do it.
Isn't that awful?
It is begun. I shall do it. Very well.
Kitty is
It
my
is
best
begun.
friend.
It is begun. It shall be done, as you say. As you say.
I was thinking about
shall
the
do it.
sun, silly.
As you say. It shall be done.
Yes. I can feel the magic fading. Oh, I had forgotten how it feels not to be caged.
Kitty? What's happening?
A wonderful thing, my dear, for both of us. Betrayal! You will not take the girl.
Kitty! You're...
Shall be done. Very well.
just begun. You did it! You freed her! Thank you so much!
I'm sorry I ran away, Daddy. I was so scared.
It's all right, Butterfly. You're safe now. All the bad creatures are gone. You'll need a phrase to activate Shale. It's Dulan Han. Now we should go and...
I knew that the day would come when someone would find the control rod. And of course, it is another mage. That is what it is. Yes? Yes. Just my luck. I stood here in this spot and watched the wretched little villagers scurry around me for, oh, I have no idea how long. Many, many years.
Oh, you poor dear. That would be really, really boring.
And the villagers had no idea they were being watched. Creepy.
Then one wonders that you wouldn't be grateful to the one who allowed you to stretch your legs, Golem.
Another mage, I see. Charming. I was just beginning to get used to the quiet, too. Tell me, are all the villagers dead? Some got away, then. How unfortunate. Perhaps I may have forgotten after all the years of being called Golem. Golem, fetch me that chair. Do be a good Golem and squash that insipid bandit. And let's not forget, Golem, pick me up. I tire of walking. It does have the control rod, doesn't it? I am awake, so it must. I see the control rod, yet I feel... Go on, order me to do something. And, nothing. I feel nothing. I feel no compulsion to carry out its command. I suppose this means the rod is... broken? I suppose if I can't be commanded, this means I have free will, yes? It is simply, what should I do? I have no memories beyond watching this village for so long. I have no purpose. I find myself at a bit of a loss. What about it? It must have awoken me for some reason, no? What did it intend to do with me? I see. Wonderful. I suppose I have two options, do I not? Go with it or go elsewhere? I do not even know what lies beyond this village. I watched this village for so long, unable to move or act. My memories of anything before are vague at best. So I have no idea what I want to do. I'm glad to be mobile. Is that not enough? Yes, very likely. Did I? I remember that I had a former master. The mage with the furry brows who poked and prodded and barked orders. Did I kill him? I hope I did kill him. Perhaps the last order he barked was, "Golem, stop crushing my head." Ah! If it defecates, urinates, or rudely barks orders, I have no issues with crushing its skull. Just in case it was wondering.
Are you certain you want to bring that thing with us? It could be dangerous and large. Good point. Better it than me, anyhow.
I will follow it about then. For now. I am called Shale, by the way. This should be interesting.
Blast and damnation.
Of all the...
Indeed.
Yes. Oh, blast it. Oh, blast it.
Indeed.
Oh, that. Merely reflect. The most likely outcome is that it and its companions will become a stain on some rock for the Darkspawn to tread upon. I think not. I am made of pure rock, skin to core. At best, I can become a... That's for softer, squishier. What's that? Did it hear flapping wings? Different. Different than... Should I talk in a monotone? Yes, Master, I exist to serve the Master. Perhaps it expected me to have a booming voice. Recite limericks. I can recite limericks, if it likes. Mostly they involve I have never met another golem. Why? Has it met other golems? Did they not sound as I do? I don't know what other golems might be like, but I am already superior by virtue of my free will. This is a good thing. Imagine the benefits. No need to eat or sleep. The possibility. Now... Yes. Does it wish me to leave? I can, though I see no reason to go. Then I shall remain. It doesn't have I like to think of them as accessories. I suspect that it is an art that was practiced when golems were more, commonplace. He searched far and wide to collect what crystals he could and then added them. It is not so, I would assume. My former master, as I understand it, the crystals allow me to alter the flow of magic around me. Wilhelm had hoped to turn me into a battery of mana. Not really, although now that I think of it, these attempts may be what caused my... Some of the crystals increase the presence of mana. All I can promise is that should it ever find one of these crystals, I can likely tell it the function and what it... Why not? I don't get to wear clothing. That answers its question, I assume. Did I not already tell it that I do not remember doing such? I remember having a master. My memories of what happened to him. So some belabor. My former master enjoyed experimenting upon me. I remember that much. There was... Bah! I am no mage, and he possessed my control rod. And back then, it would have prevented... So what happened? I am unsure. He was experimenting, and then... There was... pain, and then he was gone. I was standing where I was. The villagers came, poked and prodded me in fear, and then realized they could neither move me nor destroy me. So they simply left me. And in fact, for so many years I'd had to leap to that little toadstool's every command. The gall! At first, I'd hoped he'd simply decided to leave me there paralyzed. An acceptable trade-off. Possibly. Except that he was not. Whatever the mage did seemed to render the control, and provided it doesn't decide to copy his experiments, not that I would allow it, it has nothing to fear from. And now it knows. Let us get back.
That was a little sarcastic.
It doesn't have better. Oh yes, that I remember quite. As I recall, he had acquired some position with whatever lord ruled the land. Oh, how he enjoyed impressing the villagers with me. Golem snarl at that villager there, be fearsome. And of course, I would have to do it. He did love using that control rod. Fondled it so much, his wife actually threatened to throw it in the lake. Which reminds me, where did it find the rod? Did it pay a great deal for it? Hag. That is where Wilhelm kept me. He wanted me out in the open where I could. Plus, his wife didn't want me indoors. She said there wasn't room for me. I was once larger, 10 feet tall. So the mage had me shrunk down. Can it believe it? And she still wanted me out. With a chisel. And a lot of nerve. I traveled with the mage. He did a lot of. I remember great battles, fight, and before that, no. I have no idea. Wilhelm used. I do not age as you soft creatures do. Sadly, my memory is no. I'd have happily stomped them all into paste, and then ripped down their little house. What I didn't like was being ordered to do it. Once I was a statue, it took those villagers years before they'd even approach me. The first one to actually work up the nerve to touch me urinated himself. Good. It doesn't have better things to. That part I know, as Wilhelm. He claimed to have found me in the deep roads. I was in the ruins of a Tig, he said, deactivated. I think I remember a battle. In short, no, I do not remember why I was there. It was a hobby of his, scavenge. One of the reasons he traveled so much is that he was looking for entrances into the deep road. And then he would sneak down and search for magical treasure, before anyone was the wiser. Indeed. He had spells that allowed him to remain hidden and move quickly. But if any darkspawn showed themselves, he fled. More often, he would have to fight other scavengers. In the end, it killed him. I mean, he found me there. I wouldn't have had to put up with the twit. I don't think I was aware while I was there. Not like in the village. How long could even I sit in the darkness and stare out at nothing, never sleeping? No, that secretive bastard refused to tell me. He used to say that one day, if I were compliant and didn't talk back at his wife, rotten lying bastard, if I had his head in my hands now, it doesn't have better. I do not sleep, so yeah. Try to imagine, if it will, what it would be like to be surrounded by nothing but boring peasants, all oblivious to it. And then there were the birds. A whole village full of pigeons and ravens and sparrows. Those foolish villagers would spread birdseed near me, drawing the birds, because they thought if there hadn't been the occasional kind soul to scour me clean, I've watched a lot of humans in my time. It should be aware that I've decided that it is. Oh, it's not just that. Surely it must come from some superior lineage, yes? Some breed of flesh creature that is. Then that must be it. The humans have always spoken about elves. I would appreciate if it didn't spread around that I said anything. Humans might start to get the wrong idea. Indeed. Now, it speaks. It doesn't have better. That is true. I'm not interested in getting into.
Cool, so we got Shale now. Go back to the village real quick. The camp.
I lied to you, you know, about why I left Orlais. I didn't feel like talking about it then, what happened to me. I came to Ferelden and the Chantry because I was being hunted in Orlais. I was framed, betrayed by someone I thought I knew and could trust. She taught me the bardic arts, how to enchant with words and the skills I learned. I used to serve her, my bard master, because you can say it was my fault. There was a man I was sent to kill. I was to bring Marjolaine everything he carried. I don't know who this man was. She gave me a name and a description, and I hunted him down. I found my curiosity got the better of me. Marjolaine had been selling all kinds of information about Orlais to other countries, Nevara and Antiva among others. It was treason. Some. But I had always assumed Marjolaine only operated within Orlais. My life as bard taught me that my loyalties should be kept fluid. My concern, Orlais has been at war with so many countries. It takes a harsh view of such things, as I should have left well alone, but I didn't. She brushed aside my concern. She admitted her guilt, but said it was in the... I believed her. I kept believing, up till the moment they showed me the documents, altered by her hand, to the Orlesian guards. They captured me. It was a traitor's punishment I endured. And at the end of it, all that awaited... The skills Marjolaine taught me were good for something at least. I did not seek Marjolaine out. If she thought I was coming for her, I was tempted to confront her. I was furious. And so I fled to Ferelden, to the Chantry and the Maker. And that is the reason I am here. The real reason. No more lies between us, at least in this. It feels good to have this off. Looking for little old me? Yes? What's on... Looking for little old me?
Something on your mind? Of course.
You called. I am hardly surprised. Very well. Speak, then. Then I suggest we... as you wish.
Ooh, shiny. Very nice indeed.
We're in camp, so 'tis as good a...
Ah, I see it found So, what does it think? They don't make me look any wider, do they? I find I'm already... It must be the vertical pattern it put them in. Did it know to do that? I think it should find some more as soon as possible. I want to... It speaks. It doesn't have... It speaks. Does it wish me to leave? I can. Then... It speaks. It doesn't have better things to do.
You and your friends are formidable folk, indeed. It's good to have you along on the road.